First, China objects to the border reality and pitches tents around Galwan, indulging in a scuffle with our soldiers. Then China objects to the joint statement in G20 health ministers meeting in August. Then China objects to the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, India's theme for the G20. And then China conveys it will not even attend the G20 summit, sending a premier in turn, clearly showing attempts to stop India's success and an obstructionist, objectionable approach constantly. Now China put out a boring lecture statement through the Global Times. What is the Global Times? So the ruling Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, publishes a paramount mouthpiece and a flagship newspaper, the People's Daily. Under this People's Daily comes the Global Times, best known for insulting editorials and aggressive attacks, selling basically Chinese pride rather than political happenings around the country. Now, this propaganda mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party first acknowledges India's rise in economy and in global attention. Then it goes on to indulge in the India-Bharat debate. China has no locus standi on it and yet writes a full statement on it. Goes on to then try to provoke and insult India with some very derogatory insinuations. It says, why bother with such discussions when India would rather focus on the reform of the economic system? I mean, if an Indian or someone in any way connected to India would write this, it is understandable. But why would a nation that definitely does not mean well for our country so interested in local internal debate? China's attempts are, 1, to provoke India to react, and 2, hide its own economic failures. Facts first for you. USA is world's largest economy right now, followed by China, yes. But the details and a finer blueprint gives a very different picture. While India's economy continues to grow steady from 10th to 5th position and possibly soon to the 3rd, China's economic growth is slowing down. And how? China's economic era slowdown. China presently fears the worst, a complete collapse of property sector that accounts for about 25% of its economy. Real estate is one of the biggest reasons of their household economy and has faced a tremendous setback recently in the past few years. Economists say that China's overdependence on the property sector for years, coupled with stringent COVID-related policy, has significantly hampered economic growth. And only a massive stimulus push can maintain that growth rate. What does this mean? This impacts countries' market sentiment, significantly will reduce the scope of foreign investments into China. Remember, China has been a manufacturing hub to the world. Many countries depended heavily and solely on China. But they are now diverting. They're now investing in other Asian countries, such as India, Vietnam, Thailand, to name a few. And India, meanwhile, has made a very strong push to strongly attract major global brands and have them invest into India. But business or market are not always isolated. China's foreign relationship with other nations are either complex, strained, or deteriorating. Trade war with the USA has impacted relationship with other allies too. Economists quoted in a recent Wall Street Journal report indicating that China is entering into a prolonged phase of growth slowdown that could actually go on for years, if not decades. Most of the economists quoted in the report feel that this time it does not look like just a period of economic slowdown, but can literally break the Chinese economy. 300% rise in debt in China. This report from India Today compiles GDP issues. China's total debt to GDP ratio stood at a record 279% in the first quarter of 2023, according to a Bloomberg analysis. According to experts, high debt is a result of overinvestment in the infrastructure and property market for years, coupled with a plummeting demand and a soaring prices. Barclays cut China's 2023 GDP growth forecast to 4.5%. JP Morgan, Nomura, and a host of other financial agencies have slashed their full-year GDP growth forecast for the country, citing structural risks to growth and the global slowdown. The fact is, if China fails to achieve a full-year GDP growth of 5% this year, the country's 4-decade-long glory could actually be finally getting over. This Nikkei Asia report reveals another inside scoop: how Jinping has been reprimanded by Communist Party senior leaders on China's economy suffering and more. The party fears if the political, economic and social turmoil continues without any effective countermeasures, the party could actually lose public support, and that will pose a threat to their ongoing rule. But despite all of this, China is more interested in provoking India, taking steps that do not build bridges at all between the two countries. In 2022, remember, China had come to the rescue of Pakistan-based terror groups by blocking India and America's proposal to blacklist Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist Hafiz Talha Saeed, who is the son of Hafiz Saeed. In June 2023, China blocked another UN proposal by USA and India to blacklist Sajid Mir, a Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist wanted for terror strikes of 26/11 attacks in Mumbai. So it is obvious what the intention of China really is, specifically about India. Now, because China's propaganda mouthpiece has spoken on the name change, supposedly in India, let me talk about name change controversy that China is so indulging in. And who knows it better than China, as they regularly change map and territory names. In April 2023, China's Ministry of Civil Affairs released changed names of 11 places for Arunachal Pradesh, claiming as their territory. China is already known as an occupier, killing Buddhists in Tibet, setting concentration camps and human rights violations against the Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. Rather than advise us on internal issues, China would do better to advise itself. Best would be to stop this obsession with India and get back to taking their economy to how it had exploded in the 1970s. Indians love to debate and discuss, so we will ensure our internal differences are sorted out and soon. And definitely we do not want a boring, biased lecture from China's government and its propaganda mouthpiece. But I do agree with one statement made in the Global Times column. Indian people have the freedom to call their country whatever they want. The article should have started and ended with that. Thank you for watching.